The government has been shut down for a week now, which means you need to be buying stocks. Let me walk you through the data. So this chart was published by Carson Investment Research, credit where it's due. And long story short, what you see here is that while the government is shut down, the S&P 500, it's a coin flip. It's red or it's green. However, what's important to take note here is the 12 months after the shutdown ends. What is the performance? Nearly 13%, 12.7% right there. And when we had the longest shutdown in history back in 2019, right, 34 days, it was up 23.7% in the subsequent 12 months. Now, I don't care if you are red or blue or whatever you're doing. I'm talking about money here, and I want to make sure that all of you have the data in front of you to make an educated decision with yours. In the moment, it's a lot of headlines, people talking, and fear and emotion and everything in between. But what's important is to zoom out and think about the larger picture. The government's been shut down for a week. Your boy's up 13% in his small caps account. So if you want to know what I'm investing in specifically, comment the word idea, and I will send you my ideas.
Welcome back to Profit Pulse, where we break down the money moves that matter most. I'm your host, and today we're diving into something that's been shaking headlines and wallets alike: the government shutdown and its financial ripple effects.
Everyone's talking about the current government shutdown, but here's what it actually means for your money and how I would look at it going forward. The media is trying to create panic, but I'm going to break this down into 3 points that you can actually digest of what this means for your money. At the end, I'll tell you what usually happens to the stock market following a government shutdown. Let's be clear, okay? The government shutdown is a political failure, not a financial failure. Yes, we cannot balance a budget. We're living in a deficit, but the government will just continue to print money like it always will, and it's not going to run out. It's going to cause inflation. I don't necessarily agree with that, but this is not a financial failure waiting to happen. It's simply a political one. Number 2, when the government shuts down, only non-essential services go on pause. If you actually look, about 75% of all government services are going to continue like they have been before the shutdown. Your Social Security checks are still going to come. Medicare benefits are still coming. The stock market's still open. The vast majority of government services are still going to continue forward the way that they have been. It's that 25% that we're all feeling and that the media is talking about. And that brings me to point number 3. Some of you will feel it. There are a lot of federal employees that are going to have a delay in their paycheck. If you try to go to a national park, it's likely going to be shut down. 25% of government services are going to feel it. I don't want to minimize what those people are feeling, but I also don't want to blow it out of proportion like a lot of the media is. So now the fun part. What actually happens to the markets following a government shutdown? The average stock market return over the last 100 years is a 9.9% return. But what's fascinating, the 12 months following all government shutdowns, the S&P 500 has averaged a 13% return, over a 30% increase of what it normally does. That's because most investors know how to look long term. Don't panic sell, don't buy into the media frenzy, be smart, look long term, because statistically speaking, you actually have a much better shot of actually making money over the next 12 months than losing it if you look historically. Every single time something happens major, either politically or economically, try to look at the data and the facts to figure out how you can use it to your benefit financially to create the retirement that you want. If you're looking for more ways to grow your net worth, follow me.
My husband is a government employee that still has to go to work during this government shutdown, so our days look basically the same. He goes to work, but he's not going to be getting paid during the shutdown, and yet our bills still continue. And we are on day 8 with no end in sight, and so I was going to tell you some of the bills that definitely need to get paid regardless of if we get paid or not, right? First is our mortgage. We've already paid it this month, but it's $2,630. This month we still need to pay our water bill, which is $93. Our electric bill is like $161, I believe, and our garbage bill is $63. So we pay, I think on average, I would say between electric and water, we pay about $300 a month. And then preschool for my daughter is $345. So those are kind of like set bills. Now I will say we still have gas because my husband still has to go to work. So $150, and then groceries. And I think we could probably do about $600 a month if we were very tight. And so that total minimum, we need like $4,200 a month to like live. And it's not like I can just go get a job because we have young kids at home and my husband still has to go to work. The bills continue, even though he's not going to be getting paid.
So the US government has shut down. And I know you're all wondering, does that mean the stock market is about to crash? I grew an 8-figure net worth by understanding how money works. Let's talk about what this all means in plain English. So here's what's really happening. When the US government shuts down, basically a bunch of workers are not going to get paid and a bunch of offices are closing their doors. The basics still run. Planes are still flying. The military is still operating, but a ton of everyday operations stop. Now, what does that mean for the stock market? Mainly, it creates confusion. The government government usually releases reports on things like jobs and inflation, but during a shutdown, these kinds of reports might not come out. And when investors don't have clear information, they get nervous. Nervous investors equals a bumpy stock market in the short term. Some industries are going to feel it more, okay? So companies or industries that are waiting on contracts or approvals from the government. But the part most people miss is that historically, when government shutdowns happen, it almost never causes a big crash in the stock market. In fact, during the longest shutdown in US history, the stock market actually went up. Because what actually drives the stock market longer term is the bigger stuff, like company profit, interest rates, the overall economy, not just politics. So when you see the headlines and everybody shouting, oh my God, a big crash is coming, here's what I want you to remember, okay? The stock market might get wobbly for a little bit, but it is not a reason to panic or pull all of your money out. The people who build wealth are not reacting to every headline. They have a system that works in the background, that works whether things are up or down. And if you don't have that system yet, that's exactly what I teach inside my free training From Broke to Millionaire in 5 steps. And I will show you step by step how to go from stressed and confused about your money to confident and in control. You can go and grab it right now. Link in bio.
What does a government shutdown mean for you, for college, for scholarships, for financial aid, for grants, and for access? Because I don't hear anybody talking about it. A government shutdown could mean delays with your FAFSA and processing times. That's why I think they released the form early last week. It could cause a delay or a pause in federal grants, cause a delay with you trying to get your FSA ID or trying to prove your eligibility or your citizenship. It could cause a delay if they're trying to transfer your tax data from the IRS. Research grants and federal funding to colleges and universities could be paused or done away with altogether. Government shutdown could also lead to a disruption and a pause in education funding and budget cuts. This shutdown could lead to changes in agencies, changes in staffing, meaning a slowdown of help and aid in the processes that you need. State and local scholarships that rely on federal funding and federal matching could be deeply impacted and affected. And for students that rely on scholarships and grants from federal entities, you need to switch it up and diversify. Go to private third-party scholarship options, and I can help you with that.
If the stock market drops short term due to the government shutdown, should you run in and load up and buy a whole bunch of investments? Or should you wait for the inevitable stock market crash that is eventually going to happen? This is one of those impossible to answer questions because when is the crash coming? I mean, there will be a recession at some point. Will it be tomorrow? Will it be in 3 months? Will it be next year? Will we manage to avoid it altogether for 5 years? And then what happens? Markets go up and up and up and you just sit on the sidelines waiting, missing out on all that growth? Or what if you invest and then the markets do go down? Oh, you're going to feel like an idiot. The thing you have to remember as an investor is that your objective is the long term. 10, 20, 30 years from now. Not tomorrow or next year. You could buy a stock today at $80 and it goes to 60 in a month and there's a recession. And the reason the stock is going down is just because of the recession. You know, okay, then you maybe buy a little bit more if it's a quality company. That's when real wealth is created, by the way. This is my 2008 recession investing wish list. You should all have one because they are wealth generators. But if you sit on the sidelines waiting, then you miss out on compounding and acquiring more and more shares potentially every single month if you're the type who dollar cost averages. The idea that like you're going to sit and wait for like the perfect moment to enter is a loser's game. Because no one can do it correctly. And the people who do it correctly, they just guess. They just got lucky. They just go, I can't believe I bought it at the bottom. They didn't know, like, today is the bottom. I will buy here. Nobody knows. Here's what I do. My whole approach to investing is long-term focused. I'll buy, if I want something today, I'll buy it. I don't care. Oh, well, what if this happens? And it doesn't matter to me. I'm focusing on 30 years, not 3 weeks. So I really don't care. So what I do is a hybrid approach of lump sum and averaging in. So what I do is I say I want 1,000 shares in a company. I'll buy 500 today, and then with the remaining capital that I have, I'll add in on really particularly bad down days in the market. Just pay attention. Oh, markets are down 1.5% today. Oh, let me check my stock. Oh, wow, look, it's down 8% today. All right, I'll buy another 50 shares here. That way, I have the majority of my investment taken care of, and then I average in taking advantage of down days. This is just what I do. Some people just hold, 20% in cash in their accounts at all times so they can take advantage of days like this. Other people don't. They just lump sum invest. The earliest with the most, and then they just forget about it. And they let dividends handle the rest, in terms of compounding if the stock pays a dividend. Your goal is to be consistent no matter what. By the way, new policy, if you're not following and you leave a comment or you ask a question, I'm not going to respond to you. It's just the way I set boundaries and prevent people from taking advantage.
The timing couldn't be more perfect. It is times like this when the government shuts down that you want to act fast because you don't want to get left behind. Right now that all these credit bureaus are getting sued, you have the legal right to remove any negative items off your credit report that can't 100% be verified, even if the account originally belonged to you. So if you haven't heard, the FCRA is a federal law passed by Congress to protect consumers from unfair, inaccurate, or outdated information appearing on their credit reports. So let me break it down for you. Let's just say you have a report card showing how well you've been doing with money. And that report card is called your credit report. Now, sometimes banks or companies might write things on your report card or your credit report saying that you owe things like missed payments or you owe money. But guess what? Sometimes they make mistakes and they can't prove what they wrote. So a while back, the government created a rule, the FCRA, to sort of like protect us from this. And the rule says if something on your report card isn't 100% accurate or correct, the teacher can't prove it. It has to come off your report. So if that means even if something actually did happen and they can't prove it, they have to remove it legally. So this is the perfect time to start fixing your credit. You've probably been waiting for the right time, waiting to get paid, waiting for this and that and the third. Stop waiting. Act now. If you need credit repair, DM me. I got y'all. I got a $149 discount right now, and it's normally $200. So I'm not going to be holding this discount for long, because if you wait, I'm sorry, you can't say I didn't tell you.
What would you do if your paycheck suddenly stopped? With the government shutdown on the way, this is exactly why it's important to have a savings account. A savings account is a non-negotiable. A government shutdown is when Congress cannot agree on a budget. If Congress cannot agree on a budget, then they're like put into overtime. They're on like an actual, it's football season, they're on like an actual timeout. So federal workers can actually miss paychecks because of this. This can cause delayed services for us. We've had shutdowns before, but right now life is expensive. Imagine missing a paycheck. And even if you don't work for the government, clearly emergencies happen and things are out of your control. Right now, we cannot control what the government does. We cannot control Congress. Savings account is literally your only safety net, even if you're a government worker, which is scary. And just to put it into perspective, the longest government shutdown was 35 days from 2018 into 2019, and Donald Trump was the president. You know who's president now? Donald Trump. Back in 2019, they had disagreements about the wall. In 2025, there is a lot more that they're disagreeing about. Needless to say, you need a savings account. You never know what can happen to your job, to the world, to the country. Be frugal, y'all.
Government shut down last night. If you're obtaining a mortgage, this is what you need to know. My name's Mandy. I originate mortgages for a living. And if you want to work together, my contact info is in my bio. Conventional loans will be totally fine. VA loan appraisals could be impacted if the appraisal requires additional review, as that's done through a government entity. Most FHA loans will be just fine unless you're purchasing a condo that could end up resulting in a slower review process. USDA loans, however, will definitely be impacted. You can still go under contract. You can still have your loan underwritten if you're using a lender as opposed to USDA Direct. Unfortunately, you will not be able to close, though, until the shutdown is over. The IRS remains open, but if you do need to obtain tax transcripts for your particular loan, that could end up taking a little bit longer, as some staff will be furloughed. If your property requires flood insurance and you're using a national flood insurance policy that is issued or backed by FEMA, that will definitely be impacted. They're not writing any new policies right now. However, private flood insurance, totally fine, not impacted. Borrowers that are federally employed and furloughed, unfortunately, we will not be able to close the loan until you are back to work. This could impact military and other government workers. There could be additional impacts. We just don't know. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet, but I'll keep you posted.
As many of you already know, the government is officially in a shutdown, and so many employees are being affected by this. They're being faced with furlough, the possibility of being fired, but most importantly, they're not getting a paycheck. Several banks like USAA, Navy Federal, Other credit unions, I'll list in this video here, are offering 0 interest loans, paycheck protection, and other deferred payment options. These programs are obviously not automatic, so if you were an employee who was furloughed, you must obviously provide proof of furlough status, but in most cases, the assistance will cover up to 1 month of pay with no interest charged for the first 30 to 60 days. If you are a federal employee who's affected by the shutdown, please contact your bank or any other credit union to see if or how you qualify. If you have any questions about any of the banks that I listed in this video, I'll be more than happy to help do any research for you. As always, please stay positive, and I hope you have a great Wednesday.
Here's 5 things you need to know about U.S. banks suddenly shutting down. Is your money safe? 1. Several major banks have filed closure notices for multiple branches across the U.S. These major U.S. banks include Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, TD Bank, and PNC. 2. The wave of closures is expected to intensify by the end of 2025. 3. Why is this happening? Bank assets are dropping in value, and they don't have enough assets to pay off their debts. These assets include cash, investments, loans, and reserves. 3. Tech changes have made it more difficult for banks to make ends meet. More specifically, mobile banking or online banking, and the cost to make it run is astronomical. Not to mention, there's more competition now. Farther reach for customers because they don't have to leave their houses, right? They can bank from inside their house or their phones. They don't have to go to the branches, and they have a variety of banks to choose from. So therefore, a handful of banks don't have a hold on the market like they used to. 4. Following the 2008 crash, stricter banking regulations were put into place. That's why they didn't like the CFPB, because the CFPB was the watchdog for the banks. So that has been dismantled, kinda, sorta, but it's on life support at this point. The role of the CFPB was to enforce federal financial consumer laws and protect consumers. Notice I said was because they want that thing gone or redefine how it works. And when they redefine how it works, the goal is not going to be to protect consumers. It's going to be to protect corporations. But I digress. And number 5, economic factors such as high interest rates, recessions, and housing market crashes have all contributed to slow growth. Therefore, contributing to the bank closures, because with businesses, it's always about the bottom line, not the customer. But you control the businesses, because if you're not a customer, they can't run.
The government was shut down today, and we don't know how long this is going to be going on for. All we know is going to impact the government workers, the contractors, even the market, right? So just imagine what type of impact that might have on your retirement account. A lot of people have too much trust and they are too comfortable when it comes to their jobs, relying on the retirement accounts to be protected. They don't care about you, okay? They don't care about your retirement plan. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just the truth. They're not going to give you a call and tell you, hey, you lost money, hey, you gained money. That's not how it works. You have to be the one looking into your retirement account and see if you lost anything, gained anything, and if you need to make any type of changes. That's your job to do so. So if you want to protect your retirement account, what you could do is roll it over into a fixed index annuity. Okay, so if you are 59 and a half or older, you could do that without any penalty, any taxes, because you're not taking the money out. You're just rolling over from one account to another. That fixed index annuity is going to give you guaranteed no loss provision. What that means is whatever the market do, because of political reasons, because of market crash, whatever the case might be, your money is protected. So now you have peace of mind. You don't have to lose anything because of the market. You also have an opportunity to earn interest, because even if your money is not inside of the market, it is still participating inside of the market. And so you can gain interest and continue to grow it. You have the opportunity to turn on a lifetime income, like a pension future if you like to. If you're somebody who is looking into retiring maybe in the next year or so, you can have immediate income. Your money is still protected from the market losses, so now you don't have to worry about losing money because of the market while you take money out. So all of that is possible with fixed index annuity. If you have any type of account outside of your job, like with a previous employer, somebody that you're no longer with, you can roll that money over inside of a fixed index annuity without any penalty, without any taxes, no matter your age. You could be younger than 59 and a half, you could be older. It doesn't matter. So protection should be your biggest worry right now, because there are a lot of things going on in this country and in the world that's going to impact the market. So if you don't want to lose money because of the market, since your money is inside of the market, do what you need to do right now to make sure it is protected. Every time you lose something, guess what? You have to play catch up to gain back all that loss before you can continue to gain it. So to protect your money, make sure to put it in a fixed index annuity. I myself can assist you with that. All you got to do is comment help so we can connect, or you can go to link in my bio, set up an appointment with me so we can connect. Until next time, make sure you like and follow so you can get free financial advice every single day.
Trump just turned the government shutdown into a weapon. Democrats didn't even see it coming. For years, shutdowns meant the same thing: panic, furloughs, and promises of back pay once everybody kissed and made up in D.C. But this time, Trump's not waiting around. His team says federal layoffs have already started. Real reduction in force notices, not just furloughs. And here's why that matters. Democrats, they're holding the line, demanding an Obamacare extension in December before they'll negotiate. Trump's response? Fine. You want the government shutdown? I'll use the shutdown. He's cutting payroll, shrinking agencies, and calling it budget discipline. That's not just policy, that's pressure. Think about it. Every other president treated shutdowns like a hostage crisis. Trump's treating it like an opportunity. He's betting the public will side with cutting bureaucracy over caving to Congress. So yeah, the layoffs are real, and so is this message. If Washington won't make a deal, he'll start trimming the fat himself. He's betting the public will back him. You think he's right? Follow for more straight talk, and let's hear your comments.
We are officially now in a government shutdown. So what exactly does it mean? Well, let's just break it down for you. First things first, President Trump and members of Congress will continue to receive their paychecks. That is because it is constitutionally protected that they do so. What's going to happen with TSA when you try to fly? Well, those people are not going to be paid. They are going to be working without getting a paycheck. That is the bottom line. And we have seen in the past, if these continue for long stretches of time, these people are going without getting paychecks and possibly start to call out sick because they're not getting paid. Passport offices, air traffic control, TSA, those offices will remain open. When it comes to the military, the majority of veteran benefits and military paychecks will still be paid out because that's just something that happens regardless if there's a government shutdown. The Department of Veteran Affairs says that the majority of their employees will continue to work even if regional offices have to close down. Social Security benefits, those are mandatory by law. So people who receive those Social Security checks, those will still be paid out. There may be a delay in new applications because they may have to start furloughing employees who process them. The Department of Education will continue to fund loans and send those out, especially when it comes to Pell Grants and federal direct federal loans. But it's important to point out, anybody who has a federal loan still needs to be paying those, whether the government is shut down or not. As far as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that's SNAP, also known as food stamps, that will continue as well. One other thing. Key jobs reports and economic data will not be released during the time that the federal government is closed, which means that understanding the health of the economy in real time is not going to happen until the federal government reopens.
So whether you're a federal worker, investor, or just someone watching the headlines, remember, short-term turbulence doesn't have to shake your long-term strategy. Keep your money mindset steady and always plan ahead. This is Profit Pulse. Stay smart, stay steady, stay profitable.